Hello, Cancer. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using Tarot Illuminati by Eric C. Dunn. Supportive Oracle cards, Queen of the Moon Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. Stacey DeMarco. Okay. I use her decks all the time. I think her name would just stay in my brain, but it doesn't. I don't know why. This is Cancer. Okay. This is actually good, but I feel like I almost feel like you have to play the police in this situation. My first instinct in this is like I'm annoyed that I have to police the situation, because I'm like that's not me. I'm not like that person, but you're making me police this, because otherwise if I don't, things get crazy. And when I'm connecting to the Cancer energy, it's kind of like I don't want to police this situation, but I kind of feel like I have to. It feels like that's where we're going. Let's go a little deeper and find out if that's what's going on. Maybe that's what you've been doing the whole time, because it's like I'm already feeling like I have to police the situation. The High Priestess is somebody who cares about people, but also sees them for their faults. Kind of like, I love this person. I know they try, but I also know that they cause their own problems. And I also love the other person they're connected with. I love them both. But I know that these people, they do this to each other. And it's kind of like, I feel like I have to step back and kind of pull them back and kind of like, listen, let's get along. You do things your way, that's cool. You do things your way over here, let them be there. And then kind of like calming them down too. I feel like I have to keep policing a situation. I have to remind each other that, we're all on the same team. We all are getting along. We all try our best. We all care about the same people. This does feel like it's a family thing. It could be a friendship thing, but it's a friendship thing where there's complicated friendships. Almost like maybe certain people used to be together and no longer are together, but you're like, I don't want to have to choose friends. I shouldn't have to choose friends. The two of you wanted to be together, then you decided to be apart, and that's fine. You should be able to get along. You shouldn't cause the rest of us to have to deal with that because you decided to do that. It's something like I feel that for somebody. Kind of like it's okay that you guys wanted to try things out and it didn't work and you wanted to go separate ways, but the rest of us shouldn't have to be divided because of that. You know what I mean? We should all be able to be friends again. Maybe the two of you don't want to deal with each other that much and just stay in your opposite corners, but the rest of us shouldn't have to be walking on eggshells because of it. And I'm feeling that energy with the High Priestess, kind of like, you know what? We should be able to work this out. And this is something that you're constantly trying to work with and assess, kind of like, is this going to work? Are we being forced to choose one or the other? Are they making us do that, or can we do that? Is that blossoming? Blossoming, which is different than abundance, because I think people read them the same, and I don't really feel the same. Blossoming is kind of like it's almost getting to the part where we feel like it's going to be correct, it's going to do what it's supposed to. Blossoming also has a time limit for abundance, by the way, because when I feel a blossoming, I'm thinking of a literal blossom, a flower blossom. When a flower blooms in a garden, it doesn't stay that way for years. It stays that way for a couple weeks, guessing. But there's a moment when things blossom. There's like a really good moment. And the assessing is like, is this going into a good moment? And that good moment, once that passes, then what? You seem to be very realistic about that. You're trying to be. Because you're like, no, I've dealt with this long enough that I know that it could have a good moment or two, but it usually is a passing thing. The purity and the attraction is also in the environment, though. And like the purity is kind of like, the purity card is a weird card for me, because I'm like, it seems so stereotypical to me, and I feel like it's a warning a lot of times. It's kind of like what you think is the way it should be versus what it really is. Kind of like purity is kind of like, I think of like a blank canvas, a blank white canvas. If that's purity, what good is that? Like, if you're gonna just hang a bunch of white canvases all over your house, like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, if that's purity, what value really is there? And I almost feel like that's what this card is saying. Kind of like, be careful of like what purity is, because that might be very just benign, or it could be the lack of information. Something may look like it's going well, but people may be holding back a lot of information. I know, I like at the bottom of this card, they finally put in some darkness, kind of like warning you that purity isn't as good as people think it is. It's like, purity is like the lack, it's like you can't really, I feel people arguing me, like, well, you can have a pure color, but then if you have a pure color, you have no shades, you have no depth. You know, you can't, if you have just flat out red, like, you can't do anything with it. Like, it's just flat out red. If you add another shade to it, that's not pure anymore. That's my point. And I feel like they're warning of a purity energy here. If somebody trying to do the right thing or trying to make things work out ideally for them, but like almost like somebody trying to get somebody out of the picture, or them like, or taking themselves out of the picture, like whatever the version of purity here is, it's a little bit perverse in my opinion. In the sense of like, it's a distraction from what they really want. Like, you know what I mean? When this comes in, somebody's trying to create a situation, trying to make it go to their liking, trying to make it work out ideally the way they think it should work out ideally. Oh wow, I'm going down a lot of avenues with this. I'm feeling another one. Another one I'm getting is like when people think ideally for a divorce to work out. I don't know why I'm going down this road, because this one could really tick some people off, but I guess we're going to go there. So say you have the two parents, they divorce. They have two kids. And they feel, ideally, we're going to divide up the holidays. On these days, I have the kids, I do things with them. I drop them off. You do things with your family on these days. Meanwhile, the kids feel kind of a little bit torn, and they're like, their lives are being kind of divvied up. I want to play with my friends. My friends live at this location, but I have to go here because I have to cater to you. And then I don't want to be there, but then I have friends over here too, and sometimes I want to be over here. While things might work out ideally for the parents, it rarely works out ideally for the children. And it's kind of like, it's almost like that's kind of like when the focus is off, like the focus is over, like this is what ideally works for us, and then but for the people that it really affects, they're just kind of like, oh, well, I'm glad it works ideally for you. And but if that's the way it is, by the way, in this situation, you got the Four of Cups is telling me you're seeing it. You might be in the outside going, you all think that's working out ideally, but people you're affecting are not ideally happy with that. I think that's what it took long enough to get there. But this is another reason why I think you're really getting in there, even though you don't really want to be involved in this mess, because I feel like it's a mess. It's because you see people trying to work out things ideally. That's again with this purity. I don't like it. I don't like this card. It just seems so weird to me. I like the author of the deck, but that one card, I think it's supposed to evoke those emotions. It's just kind of like, it's not good for everybody, and that's why you're getting involved. Like, you all think that's good, and I don't think it is for the people you're affecting. Face down cards. Hunger and the King of Pentacles. The hunger especially. What's going on and how it's working out. People are lacking. Other people may think it's perfect. We work this out ideally. We have the perfect solution. We do it this way. I'm happy and the other person's happy. Meanwhile, the people around the situation are kind of like, they're not. They're not. And you see it. If this reading is hitting, you see it. Hunger is in there with the King of Pentacles, but it's face down, which is telling me the people who feel this purity moment don't want to see it. But it's growing. It's a growing problem is what I'm also getting. That's what, since it's face down and those two, the hunger with the King of Pentacles, it's something that's going to get stronger and it's not going to go away. It's going to cause an imbalance. Now, at some point, what are these two cards? Okay. The fear with the release is coming in. Because other people, again, may think this is the perfect way to work this out. And I keep doing these air quotes. Apparently I'm addicted to that at the moment. But there's only going to be a certain amount of time before something hits the fan. Something falls apart. There's a hitch in the system. Because other people who are not happy They're only going to take it for so long before they finally, it's like the kids finally having a fit. And all of a sudden the kids get really difficult to deal with. They get very belligerent. They're just screwing things up. They're causing messes. They're running away. They're doing whatever they have to do because they're very unhappy, and they're acting out due to the situation, due to the way other things are going. And like, it's almost like sometimes people forget that kids, like, that's how kids express things. They may not have the words or the developed thoughts to tell you that's what's wrong. They might not even realize themselves that that's why they're really upset. But that's when these things happen. And I'm getting, the fear is coming out with the release. Like, something is coming out, but they're not, like, whatever this situation is, the ideal situation is, there's a really unhappy, unsavory moment that's really kind of like breaking things up. And then all of a sudden, the perfect system has to be realigned. And now all of a sudden, things have to be changed, and things have to go differently. The focus is on somebody else now. And the system has to be reconstituted. The Ace of Cups coming in with the Five of Swords is saying, the situation is being rectified, and I feel like this is you actually with the Ace of Cups, because I'm gonna come back into that. Your influence on this is the Three of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups, yeah, which is telling me when this bad moment happens, you seem to get right in there really quick, and you seem to stabilize it. This is really, again, I think you've been doing it the whole time. This is where I'm really feeling you police the situation. You see the moment to slip in there. Let's pick this up. Let's keep it from completely falling over. It's almost like that game Jenga. It's like the tower starting to go, and you're like, whoop, let me catch it. And it's kind of like you're going against the rules of the game almost, because it does feel like that. Technically, you might be going against the rules of the game. You're like, but yeah, let's keep playing. Let's do over. Put that piece back in there. Let's fix this before it kind of falls over. Let's not have a tower moment. And if we're going to use that Jenga game analogy, it's almost kind of like you keep it from falling over. You pull it back up, and you're like, you know what? You're right. So and so won this, but let's take it all down so it doesn't crash all over the floor. Let's have a quiet moment. Then let's rebuild the tower up, and then we'll play another game of it a little differently this time. Why would you? That's an interesting analogy. Let's see where we're going with that. Because people are happy that the situation is stabilizing. That's the Ace of Cups. Everybody seems to all of a sudden get along, but you seem to be connecting the dots or pulling it together, like tying it all together. Let's do it this way. But the Five of Swords is like, there's still people who are unhappy. They're just like, I don't know what else to do, so I'll go along with this. This comes in the environment. The Knight and King of Cups. This is one of those things where I feel like you constantly have to be involved, and you constantly have to keep talking about how this isn't working. This doesn't work this way. You may think this is the perfect way to work this out, and it may work out for you and so, but the other people around you are not happy. This has to go differently. And you're appealing to the emotional nature of these people. I'm getting the Prince and King of Cups, like, these are people who want to get along or are trying to work things out, but you're showing them another angle here, kind of like, that might work for you, but you got to think about everybody else you're dealing with, everybody else you're affecting. New boundaries are created. Power is coming in with boundaries. It's telling me, you're showing people, like, it's not just about how it feels for you, it's how it feels for everybody else. I've said it a lot. And you're creating new boundaries, new ways of doing things that will make this situation better. The power is going up in the sense of, like, you're showing people, hey, there's other ways to deal with this, and there's other people you got to consider. I'm almost feeling like the Seven of Cups, all these cups are like other people, other things they have to consider. Like, consider all these things. And yes, I know that Seven of Cups is a dream card usually, or like, it's all about how the energy connects. I'm getting like, look at all these other things you're not seeing, and you're showing these people, look at all these other things you're not seeing. You're getting the situation to stabilize and move forward differently. But I'm getting, the situation stays on track, it stays on the rails. If you're going to look at it like a train, it will stay on the rails, but it's almost like you also have to be like, you have to police a couple different things. You have to make sure it doesn't go too fast. It's aware of the turns coming up. It maintains the local, it maintains the system. Like, when I'm saying it maintains the system, it's like if you're doing the train analogy, making sure the train tracks stay clear, stay clean, stay taken care of, stay up to date, stay maintained, that the train that's on it, like, that also stays maintained and taken care of. You have to stay involved with the situation. I feel like once you pull back, like, the stability is greatly compromised. So, for right now at least, if this reading is hitting for you, for the foreseeable future, as long as you're there to police it, and like, hey, you're not taking care of the track, get over there and have somebody take care of it, clean that stuff off the track, replace some of those old pieces so you don't have any problems. Make sure that your engine's going to work correctly. They're going to make it from one end to the other. Make sure that the wheels are not too rickety. Make sure that the cars that are carrying people, have the proper ventilation and stuff like that. Not people getting sick. Like, you have to keep on the situation. You have to keep reminding people and saying, hey, I know you're doing this, but let's make sure we do this. You have to keep policing the situation. As long as you do, it seems to work out fairly well. Again, I feel like you're like, I don't really want to police it, but at the same time, I'm getting, as long as you kind of are, it works out well. I don't know. Every time I feel that energy of policing the situation, I'm just like, I really don't want to. I always have that backlash of like, I really don't want to police the situation. This is not my idea of a good time. But I also feel like I'm backed into a corner. Like, but I care about a lot of the people here, and if I don't, it goes nuts. So that's what I got. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.